Welcome back to California Cooking. Thanksgiving is going to be here before we know it, so I'm getting you guys ready with the most delicious sweet and savory pies, a fall focaccia bread, and a side dish starring miso glazed squash. The Washington family opened their pie shop, Crustees, in Windsor Hills 5 years ago. Their neighborhood spot not only beloved by the community, but their pies have some pretty big celebrities coming back for more. Let's meet Sharon and Steven. Hi, Mom and Son. How are you guys?
Jessica.
Hello. Okay, Sharon, Steven, what's it like to work with your mom, Steven? That's my first question.
A blessing.
Yeah.
It is a blessing, yeah. There's nothing like working with family
Yeah.
and building an empire and just something with your mother and father. It's a big blessing.
Okay, Mom, and what do you think of your boy here?
He thinks he's the boss.
Oh, Debbie. Debbie, how do we inform him otherwise?
I let him have his way until something pretty serious, and then I have to put my foot down.
Is it Mom knows best, usually?
Oh, of course. I mean, I can't say no.
Right.
So yes, mother knows best.
Yes. Okay, so how did the family business come to be?
It all started with the famous peach cobbler.
Okay, is this your recipe?
Yes, it is. Every party that we went to, every family event we went to, we had to take the peach cobbler.
Everyone wanted it.
And it would be the talk of the party.
Yeah.
People saying you need to start selling it.
Okay.
So it's like, okay, maybe we should try this.
Yeah. How long have we been in business now?
We've been in business for 10 years.
That's a lot. I mean,
That's started out at farmers
a big
markets.
deal. Yeah.
And then we opened our storefront 5 years ago.
So at the farmer's market is where that's probably a great thing for people that are going, I'd love to start a business, but obviously to have a storefront and a brick and mortar, that's a whole big thing, but you get to kind of test the waters at the farmer's market,
It
right?
was a nice way to start to see how things would go, how people like the product. Go for it. I encourage anyone that's trying to start a new business to start at the farmer's market.
The peach cobbler, then you started going, let me try, like what was the next couple of things you started working on?
Like apple pie.
Sweet potato, mixed berry, lemon meringue.
Yeah, it just kind of exploded from
Exploded,
there.
and then after that, we went into the savory pot pie, so chicken and beef and shepherd's pot pie, which is my favorite.
Really?
And now we're doing chili and gumbo and banana pudding, and I mean, it's endless at this point.
Now, where are you guys originally from? Did you grow up in the area?
From LA,
Yep.
born and raised.
Born and raised.
Yes.
Well, not born.
I was born and raised.
Born and raised. How about you, Mom?
Born in Chicago.
Okay.
Raised here. My mom is from Birmingham, Alabama.
Well, there's the peach cobbler.
Exactly.
Right? What is it like to have a storefront where you were born and raised and where you've been a really long time, Mom?
One of the biggest things that we stand on are quality food, quality service with an emphasis on community.
Yeah.
So it was very important for us to open up our first brick and mortar in the community where I was raised, where we live, and it's full circle. And it's all about circulating the dollars in your community to just give back. And that's all we're here to do. We're here to serve, to give back, and just give a little bit of sweetness to everybody.
Pie makes everybody happy.
Yes, it does.
Doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
And I would imagine this time of year is when business really ramps up, right?
Busiest time of the year.
And do you start taking orders really early for Thanksgiving and all that, and Christmas? And
Yeah, we're taking orders now.
Yeah.
The last day is going to be the 18th of November.
And Dad was here running pies out.
Dad was in here running pies out, delivering, because we wholesale to different grocery stores around LA. So we're always funneling pies through the front door, through the back door.
For Thanksgiving, what are some, obviously, pumpkin, do you have pumpkin, sweet potato, those
Pecan
are the
pie.
pecan,
Or
probably
Sweet potato pecan.
Oh, what about
Yeah.
apple? Is apple
We
another
got
big
apple.
one?
We have a really great apple crisp with pecans, oats, brown sugar, butter that we crumble on top.
Yeah.
So good.
And now talk about these savory pies. Now, are people getting into that idea for Thanksgiving too?
They are. They'll buy the big pies,
Yeah.
the 9-inch pie pans that we serve for the savory ones, because sometimes people won't want to cook, and we do a Thanksgiving pot pie. So it's like all of the things
like
that you can
that.
imagine that you're going to eat on Thanksgiving in one pie.
You guys have a kind of a big celebrity following, I hear too. Kardashians, Julia Roberts.
Julia
Julia Roberts,
yeah.
like what's her favorite pie?
pot pie.
She's a down-home kind of girl. I figured she'd like a chicken pot pie. Oh, Kenny G.
Kenny G.
While he's playing his saxophone, he needs some
Same thing.
Chicken pot pie.
chicken pot pie. But there's something nostalgic about chicken pot pie.
Comfort food.
It totally is comfort food. We're making some pies. We're gonna make the Thanksgiving special. What do you call it?
We call it Thanksgiving pot pie.
All right, let's get to it, Mom. How do we do it?
So we're gonna start out with the mashed potatoes.
Yes.
Not too much because you got a few little layers to go.
Everything made homemade, I'd imagine, because that's how you guys roll.
Then we're gonna put some
Okay.
turkeys. Just so you know, if you don't like turkey, you can use chicken.
Yes.
You can use any kind of meat that you want to use. Ham.
And this is so smart for the leftovers the next day.
Yes, absolutely.
I think we all always have so much food left over, you know, throwing it away, you just don't know what to do with it. So this is a perfect way to use some of your leftovers. And I will say just a slight crust tip.
Yes.
Crust always bakes better when it's cold.
Then you put your gravy.
Good
Your
Whole
gravy
dough.
on there. And then next is your vegetables. What we're
Okay.
using today is collard greens.
Yes.
If you don't like collard greens, feel free to use mixed vegetables or
your green beans or
exactly. Or we could call this soul food pot pie.
You could.
And then the last thing is your stuffing.
It's all food
cornbread
groups.
stuffing. And if you don't want to smash it down, you can kind of crumble it on
Right.
there. Whatever your preference is. you know.
Yeah. There we go.
And
And
that's
now
it.
you pop it in the oven.
In the oven.
Yep.
Get it all bubbly and
Yes.
Mhm.
So you'll do about 350 to 375 for about 40 minutes.
Yep.
And then we oftentimes like to rotate the pie so it gets an even color on both sides.
ta-da!
So you can either do it two ways. You can just keep the stuffing on top, or if you really love crust,
You got
can put
fancy.
the crust on top. But we got a little fancy just for you.
I love how you cut out the little leaf print and you put the leaf on top.
Got this some cranberry
Okay.
sauce.
Oh my gosh.
Cranberry sauce,
I almost feel bad to dig into this beauty. Just go right in.
please.
So this is like a single serving.
Well, I guess it depends on how
Oh,
hungry you
no.
are.
Mom, how many
Those
would you
are
think, Sharon?
very
4?
filling. I would
2?
say
2.
2 or 3.
Okay. All right, I guess I'm going in. Oh, wow. That is so good. It is so warm and just ooey, and it is like a big hug from Sharon and Steven.
We also have some other flavors for you to try. We've got 2 of the other pot pies.
Yeah.
So we've got the shepherd's pot pie,
That's
which
your
is going,
favorite.
that one's my favorite.
Okay.
Ground turkey, ground lamb, mixed vegetables with white truffle mashed potatoes on
Ooh,
top.
Wow.
And then we've got our classic chicken pot pie.
Sounds like he makes it, huh?
The shepherd's pie, which is Steven's favorite.
And
And
mine
I-
too.
and yours
actually.
too?
Yes.
Wow, that is yummy. And even though they have similar ingredients, very different, like the flavors.
Right.
You know, that is good on a chilling night. Mm. And then, I'm not calling it the Julia Roberts Kenny G chicken pot pie, but it is.
Uh-oh, that must be the favorite.
You know what? I love them all, but that cream sauce.
Now we're gonna
I'm
move on to the
saving room for the
sweets.
sweet.
We've got the famous peach cobbler
Yeah.
here. And then this one's my favorite, the apple crisp with pecans.
This is what started it all. The peach cobbler.
Happy dance.
Happy, beautiful. Like so, and it's got kind of the spices of the season. I feel very, like this is almost cruel to do to people watching. You know, they're like, oh, I need to see what that's all about. And now,
The apple crisp.
the apple crisp.
Yeah. So out of all of them, which one is your favorite?
Gosh, I knew you were gonna ask me that, Steven, and put me on the spot and make me choose. The chicken pot
I knew
pie
you were going
for
to say the
me,
chicken.
it takes me back to just like mom and home and childhood, and like all the rest of them. This has been so much fun.
Thank you for having us. Thank you. Thank you.
Happy Thanksgiving. If you want to impress the family and the friends, bring a pie from Crustees.
Thank you.
Happy holidays, you guys.
Yes.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
Thank you so much.
Mwah. Coming up, it's a delicious side dish to try this Thanksgiving. I'm roasting squash with a miso maple glaze, but first, I'm making a festive focaccia bread for your Thanksgiving table. That's coming up next. Lately, I've been seeing these beautiful focaccia breads decorated with fruits and veggies. They look like pieces of art. So I thought it would be a pretty addition to my Thanksgiving table this year. Let's see how it turned out. I'm a little nervous about this one. I have never made bread before. And I always see these beautiful, and maybe you've seen them too, on Pinterest or Instagram, where people make these beautiful focaccia and they put different vegetables on top to make these pretty almost landscapes or pictures on their focaccia. And I saw one the other day that I thought would be so beautiful for your Thanksgiving table or any time for fall. And it was a beautiful focaccia and it had pumpkin slices on it. And I just loved how it looked. So I'm gonna give it a shot, making some homemade focaccia. So the first thing you need to do is do this a day ahead of time because it needs to rest and it needs to come to life and proof and that whole thing. So first thing we're gonna do is a good sized bowl, 4 cups of flour. You could do bread flour or all-purpose. I have all-purpose here. And then we've got rapid instant yeast. So I'm gonna put the whole packet of yeast in, 2 teaspoons of salt, and that's it, okay? So we're going to mix that together. And then you add 2 cups of water, and that's your dough. I'm doing room temperature water, and then it's gonna start to come together. One of the things we're gonna do is see if this comes together. If it doesn't start to form a ball, then we're gonna need to add a little bit more water, the rest of the water. Now I got a wooden spoon. Okay, so see how there's still a little bit of flour that's not incorporated? I'm gonna add a touch more water, a little bit at a time, until, there we go, you get a ball. So it just needed that extra little pinch. Done, our dough is finished. Really good olive oil on top, saran wrap, in the fridge for at least 18 hours. A day later, I've got some focaccia dough here. So what happened is, before I left for work this morning, I took the bowl out of the fridge and I just put the dough on a greased cookie sheet, didn't touch it, left it on the counter. So that was 4.5, 5 hours ago. This is what it looks like. So it's grown a little bit, but now to kind of get that focaccia look and feel, it's about the dimples. And you get the dimples with your fingers. So you start to make these indentations in your focaccia. To make it look festive for your Thanksgiving table, I have a pumpkin here, a little tiny pumpkin. And I'm gonna take a sharp, big knife. That's how I usually get into it. There we go. Let me scrape the seeds out and scrub the outside of the pumpkin, because I'm gonna show you what we're gonna do. And then as small as you can, as thin as you can, you're gonna wanna slice the pumpkin, because this bread only takes 25 minutes to cook. So you don't want thick pieces of pumpkin that can't cook. So you take your focaccia and you start to make these little pumpkin shapes on your bread. We've got our little pumpkins formed, and then we have some sage, some beautiful sage. We're gonna take our sage and give these pumpkins a little stem. So sweet. I do think, just because there wasn't quite enough room over here for a pumpkin, I'll just do a couple of pretty sage leaves in the corner. Look at how cute! A drizzle of olive oil all over this beauty. My very flaky sea salt. The oven is set at 425. Okay, our festive pumpkin focaccia looks about done. Look at that. We did it! We made focaccia! Okay, I'm gonna let that cool before we dig in. Fall focaccia is out of the oven. I let it cool for a little bit, and it looks really cute. The one thing I might do, just as you take it to the table, put maybe a few more fresh sage leaves on there, because the sage did shrivel up a little bit. But I just think this would make a fun little something to put on your holiday table. For a first-time bread maker, we didn't do too bad. Here we go. And it's ready for your Thanksgiving table. Look who's here to taste the focaccia. Hi, Theo. What do you think of my focaccia? You want to try? You love bread. This boy loves bread. You want to be my taste tester today? Some reaction. It's good. And the bottom and top have that nice crunch on it. And the sea salt. I think it's delicious. Right? We made bread. Love you. Coming up, roasted squash with a miso maple glaze. It's so good, it melts in your mouth. That's coming up next. Well, here's a standout Thanksgiving side. It comes together in a snap, and it makes the humble squash the star of the show. Squash this time of year in abundance, so a different kind of a spin on maybe a side dish for your Thanksgiving table. So I'm gonna do a mixture of different squash. You need a really sharp knife. For a glaze, I'm gonna do a miso butter maple glaze on our squash. So I think that sounds kind of good. So first things first, just a lot of cutting. So we're gonna start with the butternut squash. I'm gonna peel this guy. And look, I'm the first to admit, like, I am all about just the classic kind of things, but every year, I like to try a little new twist on something for Thanksgiving. I like to experiment with a couple of things. Just gentle, or not so gentle. There you go, you're in. Just do nice little rings, or half moons. And then once you get to this stage, it's pretty easy to cut through, not too difficult. I'm gonna get out the big boy. I rarely use this bowl, but for this recipe, all the squash going in so we can coat it in our glaze. All right. And then I have the kabocha squash. I don't know, but it's delicious and I love it. And it's this guy right here. Same thing, we're going in. First cut is the trickiest. Yes, not too bad. You wanna cut the squash around the same thickness, each one, so that they cook about the same time. Let's go to my little pumpkin, a few wedges of that. To that, I love how all of that looks, so pretty. Now, a red onion, and we'll just cut it into chunks. Onto the glaze that we're gonna make. Our miso butter glaze. So miso is a fermented soybean paste, and this is a mellow white miso. And if you've had ever, miso cod, it's almost kind of that umami thing that's a little hard to describe. It's so yummy. So a big heaping spoonful of that. And then some maple syrup, which I think maple syrup and squash go so well together for a little sweetness. A couple glugs of real maple syrup. Tamari. Now tamari is like soy. If you have soy, that's fine. Tamari is just a more intense, thicker version of soy. For the salt, we've got that. And then half a stick of butter. So this is all gonna melt on the stove and create a glaze for our squash. And just to let them simmer in there, a couple of cloves of garlic. Don't even have to chop them or anything. Just throw those in there. Let's take this back and make a glaze. Look at this. It almost looks like a caramel sauce. So the miso and the butter, maple syrup, they get nice. And that only took a couple of minutes on the stove. So here goes. You're gonna coat all these beautiful squash. I just leave the garlic in there. I've got 2 spatulas and I'm just gonna coat all of it. I've got the oven on 400. I've got 2 parchment lined baking sheets just to make life a little easier. Half and half. You want to give it room, make sure it browns evenly, get everybody spread out. You want to get these caramelized and soft in the oven. Squash is done. Look at that. Just at the very end, I threw in some fresh sage because I happen to have some, and just let it brown in there for a second. And that's it. And you get these little crispy, bubbly pieces that have the miso glaze. You just get a big platter, and that's it. I kind of want to taste the squash because I'm curious how the miso glaze, it smells so good. And you have to taste before you serve it to your guests. I love the glaze on the squash. It's sweet, but it's not just like a maple syrup kind of sweet that you normally would have maybe on squash. That miso does something really awesome. For the recipes we featured today, follow us on Instagram at KTLA California Cooking. That does it for us. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next week.